The Last Week of April by me, Michaela Norred. I was born on April 25th, 2003. On April 22nd, 1970, this was the first Earth Day to ever be observed in the United States. This day that we still observe was created by Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin. Across the country, nearly 20 million Americans participated in nationwide festivities. On April 25, 1971, was the beginning of a series of protests called the May Day protests that took place on Washington, D.C. in order to get the Nixon administration to withdraw from Vietnam. Many Americans at this time opposed to the occupation of Vietnam. On April 19, 1989, was the day that the USS Iowa turret gun exploded, killing 47 sailors on board. One possible cause explored by the USS Navy was Sailor Clayton Hartwick, who also died in the explosion, was the cause for this explosion. This was later proven false by the Senate when they concluded that the accidental overage of powder bags was the source of the explosion. On April 25, 1990, was the day that the crew of the Discovery Space Shuttle placed the Hubble telescope into orbit around the Earth. The telescope was first conceived in the 1970s, and it took nearly 30 years for the telescope to actually get to where it was. Since 2010, the telescope has cost the U.S. around 10 billion USD. And the picture shown in the background is a picture taken of a star forming on the Hubble's 50th anniversary. On April 29, 1992, was the start of the LA riots. The verdict came out that the cops that brutalized Rodney King went free, and the riots broke out. They lasted nearly 5 days and costed the county nearly $1 billion in material loss. The Columbine shooting was the deadliest shooting in America at the time. It happened in Littleton, Colorado at a high school when two shooters who were students of the high school opened fire on students and teachers at the high school at the time. Explosive devices were found at their homes and around the school, and nearly 15 people died, one being a teacher. The Columbine Memorial was opened to the public 8 years later. On April 24, 2007, planet Gliese 581c was discovered as the first Earth-like planet outside of our solar system. In terms of space, it was relatively close, with it only being 20 light years from Earth. It was discovered on April 5th, but was officially announced to the public on April 24th. On April 26, 2009, the Secretary of Health and Human Services was the first to declare a public health emergency. This was in response to the swine flu H1N1 influenza virus. 4,000 Americans had died by October 2009, and 22 million Americans had become infected. On April 25th, 2019, a year ago, former Vice President Joe Biden officially announced his bid for presidency. He is currently the leading Democratic representative to be the nominee, beating Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. And finally, on the same day, Microsoft became the third U.S. firm to be worth 1 trillion USD. Previously, Apple and Amazon were the only other two U.S. firms to be a part of the club. Microsoft can thank their cloud service for their boost in value.